Attention on deck. Welcome to the Warships Podcast with your hosts, Kellord, Kami Samurai, and Vanacera.
Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Warships Podcast. Today,
And now listeners, it's time to do a podcast with that dank YouTuber Eurobeat, so please enjoy.
Hello.
So how did you get started with YouTube and about warships, and how did you come up with like a lot of the great puns about the various how-to ships? The first one I remember seeing was the How to Tirpitz video for sure.
Basically, I play World of Warships since open beta and about a year or so. Basically, just play like everyone else, and then I start editing feeds. The first Vantage, if you haven't seen it, the Hindenburg Vantage, the first one basically. That one is a what should I say? I'm using my spare time just to make videos and upload to YouTube. For the shits and giggles. I don't expect anything. I don't expect the response. I don't expect the feedback that I got from the whole videos. It's basically a spare time works that I had just happened to be uploaded on YouTube and just post it on Reddit. It gets upvotes and that's the whole starting point of my entire YouTube channel. Basically,
I also remember seeing the How to Indianapolis one with all the great fat American jokes, which I got a kick out of for sure.
Okay, the Indianapolis fit was, I understand it's a bit controversial because again, for the shock and the fat American jokes, but then again, it was the first video that I uploaded after I got into the CC program, the Asia CC program, and they basically said that you can make the usual how to fits your style and your signature style. We don't have to filter out anything, so I guess that's the jokes that I'm gonna use. All in all, basically the Asia CC doesn't really mind me making it like that, but apparently the North American vlogs not really fun with it. But I think it's understandable for most that it's just for banter, for jokes. I guess all is good, I think.
Trust me, as a fat American, no, I took it as a joke. So
No offense intended, but yeah, it's just a generalization of fat American. It's not really a good thing anyway, in my opinion.
So I guess one of your iconic things is the Eurobeat torpedo beats thing. How did you come up with that, and like where did that come from? I guess the genesis of that.
Oh yeah, basically when I play World of Warships, I also watches initially. If I recall, the last season was airing at the same time, so I also got the chance to watch them. And basically from the whole series, I kind of found a correlation between initially you get to drift your car everywhere, and in World of Warships you kind of do the same thing with turning the ship. But the torpedoes is what makes the whole looks of the turning of the ship, the maneuver makes it more interesting. So basically it kind of parallels with how cars in initially turns their corners and with their dynamic, and basically, what can I say? I don't know. The main reason why I like initially so much is because it's the cars and all the drifting action, even though it's kind of prolonged, but I totally enjoy it. I enjoy the whole series as an anime. It's basically the only anime that I genuinely enjoyed, not the mainstream anime that I've seen people watch. So yeah, basically I like both the cars and the ships, and I found a correlation between the two that would make an interesting content, and that is the torpedo beats.
As well as the music, correct?
Yeah, the signature music that makes the Initial D series so popular is also the one that I use for my Torpedo Beats video. It fits really well. It kind of brings the nostalgia back to the 90s where the music was so popular back then. And yeah, and it's also I think it's also uh, interesting to be heard for the especially Japanese fans. I kind of think that most of my content was because I use most Japanese music like the Torpedo music and anime stuff because I think those stuff is what people likes. Yeah, and basically just from that point on, I see as a chance for me to make a unique content based on those those stuff. Yeah.
So, from the Eurobeats, I assumed that you were an Initial D fan. Do you have a favorite driver and car from the show?
Oh yeah, obviously the favorite driver and the favorite car is the signature, the cover character that is Takumi and his AE86. I have a very big interest on the car, and basically the whole character is also an interesting thing to look at. All the development, all the not so important mechanical, but basically I like him because I like him and I like the car because they are the only the only developing character throughout the whole series, and I think that's the point of the Initial D series. That's why I like it.
I agree. I've always been a big fan of Initial D from the first time I watched it back in like the early 2000s. But I will say that my favorite race was the Keisuke Takahashi versus Godfoot. Do you have a favorite race in the show or no?
Oh yeah, that scene where the Keisuke versus the Godfoot in the skyline is also one of my favorite. And the second of the I forgot what like that they do a U-turn together. That was so cool to watch.
That's that's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So are you
I
in
know,
Japan
right?
then, Euro, or
What?
are you in Japan then, or are you in another country? I never was clear which country you're from.
Oh, I haven't made that clear. Am I right? Where am I from? Yeah, I am actually from Indonesia. Indonesia. Not many people talk that I was from there. Many people talk I was from Japan. Many people think that I was an Asian living in American. I heard some words like that, but actually I'm from Indonesian since my birth, and I've been living in my home ever since.
Euro, how do you feel? Uh, you've almost been kind of single-handedly, kind of restoring, or what's the term I'm looking for? Kind of rebuilding people's interest in the whole Eurobeat music. You go anywhere on YouTube, just listening to some cool music, and you will see some reference to your videos and content that you've made. How does that make you feel? To like, wow, I've kind of single-handedly kind of restored the Eurobeat music type.
It's also a surprising thing to see because, as you may already know, Eurobeat is actually a very niche genre of music that is probably died down years ago. But there are some avid fans that genuinely love the music, even though the music was made in Italy or maybe other European countries. But because it's popular in Japan, and many otakus and maybe Japanese people like it and basically see Eurobeats as a very unique song. I see the same way as them. It's a song that even though maybe not as aesthetically good or better than many popular genre that we hear today, but it has its own it has its own unique charm to it. So basically, I I like the fact that people now digging into the genre back and looking back at the music all all the 200, maybe about 200 volumes of Eurobeat, Super Eurobeats volumes out there. It's basically a good thing to see. Something that I like to see too, because reviving a genre is good. Yeah, it's really good to get the feeling.
I just remember the first time that I heard it in watching Initial D, and it was just such a unique thing to listen to. So I always got a lot of enjoyment out of it, and still do to this day. I love to play it while I'm driving around. So, what are your thoughts, Euro, about the previous Arpeggio Blue Steel and the upcoming High School Fleet collaborations on these as playing on the SEA server? What are these? How well do you think that these events do, and like what do they come off as being catering to the player base, or are they a little off?
Okay. Let's start with the Arpeggio ones. It started in January 2016. Basically, I like the whole idea of the collaboration between two companies and their products. It's all good, but if I were to be honest, the Arpeggio one is maybe too lacking content, maybe because as you can see in the anime movies, you get to see more ships, the Yamato and all other stuff, basically, and a lot more basically sci-fi-ish things that happening on the movies. I kind of hope that the previous Arpeggio collaboration, they get into more deeper content, such as giving alternative an Arpeggio mode, probably with all the missiles and the lasers. We get to drive the Arpeggio ships and play like we play Arpeggio games. But I didn't see the whole collaboration as a flop. Basically, it caters to the player base. It's well accepted in Asia. And it's really friendly for the players too, for giving free ships and such, even though maybe we get to see potatoes driving Takaos everywhere, and I don't like that either, but whatever, it's already been done. Never matter. And then I'm gonna give my opinion about the high school collaboration. I see that this new collaboration is a lot more engaging to the players, because one, we get to draft an actual ships that is historically correct according to the anime. You get to drive actual Harikaze with 3 gun options. I think that's good. Even though we have to buy it, maybe tomorrow is probably the time where every Asian stuffer gets to buy Harikaze and Graf Spee. I have no issue with them. Basically, they are good ships. They have to be good ships. So it will spike on the interest of people. And I see that, well, yeah, it's back to the player base. It's back to the player. Asian server is basically filled with that kind of player, and they kind of deserve a unique ships that also came from other anime. Yeah, that's it.
Fair enough. So we've heard that the language barriers on the SEA server are especially difficult to overcome, especially in ranked matches. Can you give us an idea of how the ranked meta differs on the SEA server, and then maybe give us an idea of what ships you plan on playing in the upcoming ranked season?
Okay, rank and language problem. It's kind of a major thing that people always throw around, but in my observation, starting from let's say from random battles, if people are having issue with language, as you can see, you see Asian people talking with squares and displaying character that they cannot see. That is one issue. But and again, we have the F commands, the F1 to F12. I think everyone should have a bit of knowledge about it and basically use it to communicate to people, basic communication. I don't see language problem as such a big problem. it doesn't need to be inflated. It just need to be understood by most that okay, we cannot talk your language. Let's see if you can understand the F message I send into the battle chat. I think it shouldn't be a problem, but for some reason people keep inflating it as a major problem in Asian. Because if I recall correctly, in European they also having the same issue, but not as apparent as what people told here. I don't know. I don't see it as a problem. I don't see it as a major problem that's supposed to be issued. Basically, yeah, you as a player have to understand. We Asian player have to understand that we can talk to each other in our native language, and we must do our best. Basically, seeing each other, especially in rank battle where you get to meet strangers. I think over time, I'm hoping to see that players can automatically see and view each other gameplay and adapt accordingly. That is all I can say about language barriers. Anything? What else did I miss?
So what ships do you plan on playing in the upcoming season 7?
Okay, the shift. To be honest, I did not participate in the previous rank season, so I say we should put that aside because I really don't have the time for playing rank. But let's see, I am having an interest for this rank season because I don't have anything to do in the game anymore. So my ship of choice for rank is probably the Farragut, the tier 6 USDD. I think that's one of the preferable choice if you are really keen on winning the game and basically at least carry the team the best as you could with that ship, because there are times where you simply cannot depend on your helpless team, or basically your team just melts and you are the last one standing. You basically want to maximize EXP. Farragut is probably the choice that I will go for. The second one is probably the Gate, the tier 6, the German ones with the high build. It is also a good option. Maybe a bit low on the gun performance, but I think overall it's a solid performer for tier 6 rank. That is, I don't really feel like battleships or cruisers would do a better job at carrying the team as a whole in rank season, but I won't prohibit anyone from choosing both ships because as we all know, people have different performance on different ships. Maybe people love playing battleships and they are good at it. I won't offend that basically, but as a personal opinion, I prefer the destroyers.
So I have one more question for you, Euro, but before we do that, you mentioned the Gaida. We actually got a couple of emails, one from Neil Bosserman and one from Anders, which were correcting me when we were talking last week. Both of them informed me that the B hull of the Gaida does get a hydro. So we wanted to apologize to our listeners that we got that wrong last week, and that that there is a hydro ability on the Gaida, on the destroyer, and might make it a viable choice. Kami, did you have something to throw in?
Won't help it.
Won't help it? Okay, well, fair enough. So, Euro, the last question I had for you before we move on to our other topics for the day. The Kaga and the Enterprise are a new and upcoming premium carrier, respectively. How was the Kaga received on the SEA server as one of the more famous Imperial Japanese Navy carriers? And do you think the Enterprise will be popular on the SEA server as well?
Okay. The Kaga is actually a very interesting premium that just released on the Asian server. Not just released, it's actually the first one to be released compared to other server in Asian server. It's basically it's a kind of circle jerk CP because again it using a lower tier planes, tier 6 planes on a tier 7 matches, and people in Southeast Asian server, especially in the Discord, basically circle jerking the Asian folks. Okay, the Asian folks circle jerking about what happens if it meets a Saipan, let's say. We all know Saipan gets a tier 9 planes, and it's basically gonna chew on all the Kaga planes when it gets into life, and that is exactly what happened. If I recall correctly, someone posted a win rate, 2 weeks win rate since Kaga was released, tier 7 series, and it displays that Saipan win rate is actually increasing, while Kaga is mediocre, as in line with other CVs. So yeah, basically there are people say that Kaga is overpowered, and if it has no opposition in the other side, it will be overpowered. But if it meets something like even maybe a Hiryu or even a Saipan, is gonna be shut down hard if the players don't know how to handle it. So I think Kaga is okay-ish premium at people buy. I know that there are people out there that have absolutely no experience on playing CV, buys Kaga because it's his wife or something. You may be heard of that. Okay, fine. It's their money anyway. But overall, it's it's an okay premium. For the Enterprise, I assume it's gonna be released tomorrow too, along with the Harikaze and the Spey, maybe Kit too. But Enterprise, I see it as a much more interesting option than compared to the Kaga, because again, while it gets down tier planes, it's actually looks more like an IGN CV than a USN CV, which is great because, as we all know, USN CV is kind of underpowered on this game. Not underpowered, basically not as good as IGN CV, because IGN CV can do more stuff with their more squads number on the game, while USN kind of lacks that punch, kind of lacks that impact to the game. I can say
we're actually going to talk about the specifics about how the final form of the Enterprise changed in just a minute. So if you want to keep it general, feel free.
I don't know the specific of the Enterprise, because I don't actually get to test the Enterprise, even though I'm a CC, but the CC program does not give me the Enterprise, although I don't feel like playing one either. I don't really like CV, honestly. I don't really play them. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. So that's a pretty good segue for us here for our next topic. The Enterprise has received her final round of changes and will be on sale as of June 30th, which is the day that this podcast will be released. For the Enterprise aircraft carrier, the choice of the bomb armor module was added with high explosive, so you can choose either high explosive bombs or armor piercing bombs. The armor piercing of the 1,000-pound bomb has been reduced from a maximum of 250 millimeters to 240 millimeters. The area of the bomb dropping by alternative attack has been reduced slightly, so you get a little bit more accurate than it was when you use the manual drop for dive bombs. The damage of the 1,000-pound armor-piercing bomb was increased from 7,300 to 8,000, and the most important change was that the Enterprise was allowed to install all of the hull upgrades. So as if it were a Tier 9 or a Tier 10 ship, this means that it can mount the Air Group's Modification 3, which is plus 15% hit points to torpedo bombers and dive bombers. This takes the torpedo bombers from a hit points of 1,510 to 1,823, and the dive bombers from 1,430 hit points to 1,727. For reference, The tier 8 plans on the Lexington are 1,710 hit points for the torpedo bombers and 1,680 hit points for the dive bombers. And the Essex torpedo bombers have a base hit points before the Air Groups Mod 3 of 1,940 hit points for the torpedo bombers and 1,910 hit points for the dive bombers. So this really is making the Enterprise attack aircraft have about 100 hit points more than the Lexington attack aircraft. So, Kami, how do you feel that this is going to affect the viability of the Enterprise? I actually got a chance to play a few games, and I feel like she's actually quite a bit better than she was.
Yeah, I played a few games as well, and I still feel like with the torpedo drop pattern, with it being the same way, the torpedo bombers are, I feel, almost useless. Now, the AP bombs, I find to be pretty ridiculous if you get a few hits on battleships. But I think one of the biggest struggles I had was with those bombs. It's hard to defend yourself. You know, a competent CV player tends to do pretty well against a destroyer chasing it or a destroyer, you know, that's alone. And I find the Enterprise actually to struggle a lot trying to kill destroyers with the torpedo pattern and then the AP bombs. I don't know. I find it to be kind of an interesting ship. The fighters, I mean, I went up against the Shokaku. It was fine. I went up against the Strike Lexington, which was just a beating. I mean, he couldn't do anything. And then I actually played a couple games against just like a fighter Lexington, and those matches were pretty interesting because if they micro their fighters pretty well, it becomes an interesting fight. But you just got to be smart with the way you move your planes. I think what's the skill that allows you to get more damage for lower tier planes? Is that dogfighting expert?
I believe it's dogfighting expert. Yes.
Yeah, it's dogfighting, but
yeah, I found that to be a little pretty important with this ship. And then, like, I don't know, I think it's a ship that allows you to do more as a USNCV because you have more squadrons, which has been primarily the IJN, kind of whatever you want to call it, the way those ships are designed. So I think it allows you to do more, and it'll be interesting to see how this ship does, when it comes out with more than just, certain people playing it,
Yeah, I was kind of having the same experience. I definitely feel that it's obviously better having those tier 9 module options obviously really help. Air Group Modifications 3, I feel it's a must, and it's a band-aid, if you will. It's a 3 million, what is it? 3 million, credit band-aid that you have to sink into this ship in order to, make it more effective. But I mean, at least it's something. The dive bombers, I feel, are way too RNG. I had hits on ships. Like, I remember I had a group of 4 bombers diving in. Or no, excuse me. I had a full group, 5 bombers diving in, and did a whopping 760 damage on a Nagato that wasn't even going 1/4 speed. Then I followed up with 3 dive bombers diving in, and I did 14K. And it was so frustrating. It's like, it just seems way too RNG, even for someone who's used to like battleships and shooting, and you've got that RNG. But I feel the difference is, you got 30 seconds most of the time, between salvos, and you really are not. Yeah, you're sometimes punished on RNG, but with carriers, you have minutes between, sorties and strikes. So that RNG really kills me sometimes. And with the torpedo groups, I just hope for flooding. I just try and space them out. I just try and get some torpedoes in there, try and get a stern or bow hit, and hope for flooding and go from there. I recently switched back to the HE bombs because I want to have an effect against destroyers and cruisers, because AP bombs, they do nothing against cruisers and destroyers. And several times I've been caught with a destroyer that, towards the end of the match that's, chasing me down. Now, thankfully, Enterprise is, hella fast. And, they're gonna chase you, but they really can't, catch up and torpedo you for the most part. But still, like, good luck trying to cross-torp that destroyer or dive bomb it, because you're not. You really have to depend on your team to defend you if you get caught, if you're using AP bombs. So I've tried experimenting, going back and forth. Fighter, like Air Superiority Lexington, is tough. I ran into a Air Superiority Shikaku the other day, and was a challenge, but they were really poor with fighter strafing, and I got a couple good strafes in and was able to take them out. But I went on my Enterprise, I've gone full buff to fighters, everything possible to try and boost my those Hellcats that you get. And even then, if you are going to get up against someone who did the same in Lexington, or even the same in Shikaku, your fighters are going to lose. So you really have to be on top of your fighter control, and get those attacks in, and hope that you just are not going 1v1, because you're going to lose.
See, I found that the Enterprise was actually a pretty good air superiority carrier. I find that if you play it right, you can win against any carrier that comes at you. And if with the possible exception of a well played air superiority Lexington, and if they go with an air superiority Lexington, they're really gimping their team pretty badly. So I don't feel too bad about it. The flip side to that for the Enterprise for me is that she's a specialized battleship hunter. And like Kami was saying, if you try and hit destroyers, or you try and hit cruisers with Enterprise with the torpedoes or the bombs, it's just not very effective. So I feel like she is a battleship destroying carrier with the ability to fight pretty much any fighters to a standstill, is kind of the way that I felt about her. Euro, did you have any thoughts to throw in about the things that you've seen or the changes that we talked about?
Yes. Actually, I agree with the most part we've been talking about, how the Enterprise work and what Nisha it actually gonna bring to the game. Even though as a whole, the entire CV gameplay was a bit RNG based, especially on the dive bomber, as you may have seen, and even the fighter are RNG based. It doesn't affect my gameplay of anyway. Even though even if I play CV, it never affects me, or the dive bomber and the fighter mechanics. But seeing as Wargaming has dumped 3 premium carriers for this season. Previously it was the Kaga, now the Enterprise, and we're getting the Graf Zeppelin next to patch probably. I don't know. Maybe Wargaming wants us to play more carriers and do balancing for them maybe. But people have been suggesting Wargaming to do a CV rebalance. Have you heard of it? CV rebalance before Wargaming do anything about bringing more premium CVs?
We've talked a little bit with Sub Octavian, and he said that it's in the works, but they don't have anything ready to share yet. So we're all kind of hoping that the whole interface for carriers gets changed, the whole way that they play gets changed, because there's obvious need for that in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's actually what I've been looking for. Actually, what most people have been looking after this whole time. Not really premium CVs, although it gets the hype going. It's all good. I think it's we generally agree that CV rework is a priority at the moment.
So I guess my other question, and I'm going to pose this one to you, Kami, because we've been talking about Supremacy League a fair amount lately, is will the Enterprise either replace or be equal to a Shokaku in terms of what you want to bring for Supremacy League and competitive type matches?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. It's going to be tough because of the lower tier planes. I feel like the fighters will do okay if microed correctly, but it's going to be tough because you're still going to be outnumbered 3 squadrons to 2, and that's still trouble when it comes to winning fights. But if you micro correctly, I think you could be okay. But one other thing that we haven't talked about really is I feel the planes are really slow. I don't know if you guys have felt the same way, but I feel the planes are pretty slow, and that's just probably because they're tier 7 planes. But I feel the Shokaku speed wise and for their planes is going to be a huge advantage. But if you micro correctly, you have good strafing. You could easily win the air battle and have the ability to win the long game because of the size of the hangar of the Enterprise. But I don't know. Do I think it's going to replace the Shokaku? No, I don't think so. I think the Shokaku is still going to be king there. But I think people will play it. I do think people will play it because 1, it's going to be something new, and 2, it gives you the ability to send out 6 squadrons just like the Shokaku. You just have to micro your fighters a lot better.
Euro, did you have any thoughts about the competitiveness of the Enterprise versus the Shokaku in terms of competitive type matches?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty equal, if not slightly better than Shokaku because it's a premium. But as a whole package, as a premium, as a CV, it's actually a good option for even regular player that wanted to play high tier CV that isn't a USN CV, because it's pretty much plays like IGN CV, much like the Saipan, I guess. Yeah, I think it's a good balanced one.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see, especially since I think we're going to get the Summer Slaughter or the next league season of Supremacy League before too long, Kami, to see, especially when Graf Zeppelin gets in there, see what's going to happen with the carrier game in the competitive area.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know, much about the Summer Slaughter. Hopefully we get some more details on that in the future, and we can, maybe we can have the organizers on there, on here, and talk to them about it. But yeah, with the Graf Zeppelin, carriers are so funny because I find it to be one of the classes that is the hardest to balance. And we've talked about this before off the cast, and it's such a tough class to make fun, but also, I guess, fair. Because if you think about it, how many people have you seen groan about running into a Saipan? I mean, I can't count how many times I played and we've had a Saipan on our team or the enemy team, and everybody's like, well, pay to win Saipan. And, the other carrier, I mean, it's funny because the Saipan, I feel, is one of, if not top 5 carriers in the game. And that's just not tier for tier, but I think that's overall. I mean, the Saipan fighters, I mean, if you go air superiority Saipan, good luck, if you're up against it in a Hero or a Ranger. I mean, the Saipan just wrecks you. Even with the smaller hangar, the planes are just so good. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all balances out, and the carrier meta at tier 8. I find it interesting that they keep adding tier 8s. Because we've always complained that tier 8 is one of the most unbalanced tiers right now because of seeing 10s. But maybe that's where they're gearing, future competitive play or something like that. Is going to be tier 8, so that's where they're putting their premium carriers. I don't know.
Well, that's also kind of traditionally the highest tier that they offer premiums at is tier 8, right? So having that's their premium, for want of a better term, premiums. Those are the ones that they can charge the most money for. Those are the ones that make the most money. So,
yeah, and that's a good point too. So I just look forward to the introduction of more ships, and not necessarily premiums, just more ships.
Agreed. So the other thing that's happening today, June 30th, the day that this podcast is being released, is that the High School Fleet is being released on the SEA server. Euro, do you know anything about what that event is going to entail? Has there been any kind of hints or anything about what the High School Fleet event is? And do you have any thoughts about how long it might be before we see it on NA and EU?
I don't have detailed information about what the event's going to be on, at least on Asia. I don't really know, apart from the fact that we are going to have the ships tomorrow to be purchased tomorrow for the live server. But apart from that, I don't recall, or I haven't heard of words of when the collaboration hits the NA or EU server, or what kind of events that we are getting on the game itself that requires the HSF ships. I don't really know about that, but we are getting the commander with the respective voiceover, which is okay, that is good. But what else? I don't recall I have seen any more content apart from those stuff I just mentioned. I don't really know. I don't have anything to share.
Fair enough. It's always kind of interesting that these events can sometimes be very mysterious about what's actually going to happen. I mean, we had the Hunt for the Bismarck event, which was quite a success, in terms of participation levels and things like that. So I'm kind of hoping for a similar kind of event with the High School Fleet as well. Vanessa, do you guys and Kami, do you guys have any thoughts on when we might get the High School Fleet ships as well?
Well, just kind of speculating, but I'm hoping soon. Trademark. I don't know, maybe after ranked, maybe because at least on the NA server, we are about to enter our ranked season. Maybe they're not going to want to release this just yet. I don't know. It's all speculation, but I do hope that it is popular enough when it does launch on the NA server, because it's not the arpeggio stuff. I know a lot of people were kind of put off by the arpeggio stuff, but this one, these ships, they don't really look out of place compared to the other ships in game. And the Harakaze is a really, really fun destroyer. So I hope that people have a more open mind with these ships.
Yeah, I agree with that. Basically, if you put the anime stuff aside, it's actually a very, very desirable IGN premium destroyer that is a high tier. But it's a good captain trainer. It could make money and be more useful to the team compared to other IGN DDs that I've seen, because they get to choose different guns, they get to choose different loadouts, they can put many captains there. So basically, even though if you don't like the series, if you don't watch anime or some sort, it's a good premium, because if I recall correctly, the Little White Mouse from the Ship Comrade gives us the screenshot of the Harikaze with the normal camo, with not the High School Fleet, right?
That's correct. You can actually use, and it takes the sea skimmers that they have in the show and replaces them with the historical ship's boats that a Kagero class destroyer would have carried. But I mean, I find it to be one of the most compelling gameplay ships that they've ever released, in terms of you can play it however you want to play it, with whatever guns you want to play it with. Kami, did you have something to throw in?
Everyone knows my affinity for the arpeggio ships, right? Yeah, everybody knows I love them. But no, for these High School Fleet ships, I find them to be awesome, and that was hard for me to say a little bit. But the ability for the Harakaze to do multiple things, and it's kind of like, I feel like it's a Swiss Army knife. You kind of get to do what you want to do. You got torps, you got different guns, you have good concealment. I mean, it's a really good ship overall. The Graf Spee, I mean, it's the Graf Spee. But what I think sets these ships apart from the Arpeggio ships is it's not just a bunch of different copies like the Myokos and the Congos. I mean, it's not just a ship that's been reskinned. I feel like these ships actually bring something different, whether it be the camo or the uniqueness of the Harukaze. You know, it brings more to the game. And I don't know when they're going to come out, but I know for a fact that I'm going to have both of them, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, let's not forget that these ships, these particular two ships, actually can train other, like, normal captains as well, either German or Japanese captains that you have prospectively. So not only with Harukaze do you get multiple options. Like, I love running the USN 5-inch guns on them, but also I can train IJN captains with them too. So that's just, it's a double bonus. It's so much better than we had with the ARP ships. And
don't forget, the Harukaze is at what tier?
8.
There you go.
Just like we talked about. So, moving on to our kind of last topic of the day, patch 0.6.7 was released this week and kind of gave us the details on the upcoming ranked season. And the first thing I wanted to talk about there is that we're not seeing any of the special upgrade modules that we saw as rewards in the last ranked season. It's purely flags and doubloons and camos and things that we've kind of asked for. So do you guys feel rewarded or vindicated that Wargaming has moved to go back to kind of the old style of ranked rewards?
Well, I looked at the rewards the other day, and there aren't enough Juliet Charlie flags on that reward list. I am glad that they're not giving out the modules anymore, and one day we'll talk about super containers as well because everybody loves those. But with the ranked rewards, I like them. I just feel like it needs more flags because you go through. I don't know about you guys, but I go through a lot of flags when I'm playing ranked, just because sometimes you get on a streak where, you know, you might not be winning very many games, but you never want to be the guy or the gal that gets detonated in ranked. You know that? Because, I mean, everybody will talk crap about you and laugh and ask you why you didn't have your det flag. So I feel like if they made every flag reward just det flags, I think everybody would be honestly happy with rewards.
It's a lot of det flags. Euro?
Yeah, that donation flags is basically the one that everybody wants to have and never ran out of. Even though, yeah, you still have a very slim chance of detonating, but it's humiliatingly bad for you if you got detonated, right? So, yeah, I agree. We need to have the whole rank rewards need to have something more interesting than just flags and camos. I think maybe if we put a super container for the upper ranks, maybe normal super container that you can basically hope for getting rewards something that other than modules. Basically just raising the hopes up so people would play more. Because at this season, the season 6 of rank, it's coming tomorrow. I don't see the rewards to be that appealing for me, at least. But I don't know. People play rank because maybe they don't have anything else to play, or they really want to get those flints and blacks. Yeah, they are interesting ships. I can be honest that they are good ships. Maybe a bit overpowered, as many people say. But yeah, it's a trophy for them. I think it's rank won't be going anywhere soon. But I hope that we will be getting more rewards out of them.
People play rank because they're masochists. No, wait.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something with that super container idea. I like that. That's actually a really cool. I never even thought about that as a way of changing up the rewards at higher ranks. But one thing I will say is a lot of people that I've talked to are going to stop at certain ranks because some people don't care about the camo or ranking out. They just want the flags. And I feel if you put better rewards closer to ranking out, I think you're going to get more people that are going to want to rank out. You know, I just know that when you put better rewards, people are going to be like, oh yeah, let me rank out now. And I know there's the Flint and I know there's the Black, but some people just, they don't really, care about the ships. They just want, more Julia Charlie flags or more, Victor Lima, whatever flags they may be. And I think they need to be a little bit more maybe spread out and bigger bunches. Because I remember a few seasons ago, like when you got to like rank, 3 or something like that, you got like 50 of each or 40 of each or something like that. And that was a good reward because it gave you a 40 of a bunch of flags that you needed. And it gave you the push that you needed to get ranked out. But I don't know. I feel like the idea that Euro had about the Super Tainer, that's a really good idea. And, maybe that's something that then in the future we can get, as a reward. Because I think that would cause people, to play longer.
Super containers without modules, right? No, I think it's a fantastic idea. Hopefully someone listening might, put a bug in their ear and something that we could maybe get. Looking at it, I like a lot of the camouflages, but just 15, as you're going through the ranks, my gosh, you're going to go through that so quickly where, previous seasons you would get a ton of flags. Like a crazy ton of flags. So I don't understand why, just 15 camouflages on a lot of these ranked. I know for me personally, if I rank out this season, I'm going to get the Flint. So I have a great deal of motivation to, get going, rank out the season, secure the Flint, and then kind of charge myself up to, go for USS Black eventually.
Yeah, I'm in the same situation, Vanessa, that if I rank out this season, I'll get the Flint. So I certainly am looking forward to it. And I'm actually looking forward to playing Tier 6 in Ranked, because I haven't gotten to do that in quite some time, and you didn't even get to go all the way through the season with it. So I'm definitely looking forward to it as well. I do feel like these are better rewards than they were last season. So, do the best you can. Kami, so the last couple of weeks we've talked about the Dunkirk and rewards for you ranking out in just the Dunkirk on the NA server. So have you come to a decision about what you're going to play?
The offer is right now sitting at 15,000 doubloons, and I will be ranking out on the NA server in the Dunkirk. And it will be live on stream, so everybody will be able to see all the games. So it won't be like I'm playing the Dunkirk and then something else. Everybody will be able to see. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of teammates that aren't going to be exactly happy with me bringing a Dunkirk. But it's definitely going to be an interesting experience. It's going to be fun. Like our guest last week, ranking out in the Pensacola, I feel like the Dunkirk's one of those ships that it may turn out to be a lot more fun and a lot better than what we talked about when we talked about our rank preview. But it's gonna be an interesting experience because the Dunkirk, those guns are just they frustrate me to no end. But hey, it'll be fun. It'll be definitely an interesting experience. And there's already been people like, if you're on my team in a Dunkirk, I'm gonna TK you. I said that's not very nice. I mean, that just hurts the team, right? Or does me bringing a Dunkirk hurt the team? Either way, it's going to be fun.
It should be a good time. Well, that's about all the time that we have this week. Euro, we really want to thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate having you here, and getting to hear your voice for the first time is a big deal. I know there's a bunch of people out there that can't wait to hear.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation for the podcast too. Really glad to see and meet you guys.
Did you want to give a shout out to any social media or YouTube channels that you have?
At the moment, I have no social media. For the moment, I don't have any social media shoutouts. But for YouTube, maybe I'm gonna shout out to Alios. Yeah, haven't seen him for a while. Yeah, that's it.
We had him on the show not too long ago, and he was like, you guys have to have Euro on the show because he was my big inspiration. So Arlios is why you're on the show today. So that's it for this week, folks. As always, follow us on Facebook and Twitter for updates between podcasts. We, of course, want to thank our amazing Patreon backers, one of which we actually got today, so that was pretty awesome. If you're interested in supporting us, please consider becoming a Patreon backer yourself. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week.